So my lucky self saw this movie followed by a Q&A session with star Zoe Deutsch and co-writer/director Max Winkler. Here is a taste of what I saw while I was there.
All love is unique. No, I think someone did ask me a question recently. They were like, "Do you really think that she?"
Just smile. So when making this movie and the process that you guys were like, was he getting you on board and so forth, and you were just writing it? What movies were you guys talking about? What movies were in orbit?
What is up, everybody? Random Random Man here, bringing you my review for Flower. Now, the plot basically follows a troubled yet well-meaning teenage girl named Erica, played by Zoe Deutsch, who rallies with her friends and teams up with her new soon-to-be stepbrother Luke, played by Joey Morgan, to become vigilantes and stalk Will, played by Adam Scott, a teacher who Luke claimed to have sexually assaulted him when he was younger. Going into this movie, I was curious about it after I saw the teaser trailer for it, and I even heard murmurings about it at last year's Tribeca Film Festival where it premiered. Now, like I've said in the intro, I was lucky enough to see this movie with a Q&A session following it that had star Zoe Deutsch and co-writer/director Max Winkler answering questions from the audience. Zoe even answered my question about how she got into her character and what her approach was to play Erica, and I even got to talk to her a little bit after the screening. I even took a selfie with her. Yes, I know, my selfie game here was so weak, probably because I was too starstruck to have Zoe Deutsch in my very presence to realize it, as I think she is also gorgeous, and she was such a sweetheart when I interacted with her. It was such a nice treat to have an experience like this either way. So with all of that bragging out of the way, what did I think about this independent dark dramedy in actuality? Starting out with the cast and their performances, we again have Zoe Deutsch in the lead role of Erica. Now again, to gloat once more, it was such a privilege to interact with her after the movie. I mainly knew her before this film in her role on The Sweet Life on Deck as Maya, in which she showed up for several episodes. Hell, she even has famous parents. Her mom is Leah Thompson, who of course is known for playing Marty McFly's mom in Back to the Future, and her dad, Howard Deutsch, is famous for making movies such as Pretty in Pink. Now, setting all of that aside though, what did I think of Deutsch's performance? This is a star-making role. I think that this is a breakout performance in that she is so gutsy. She is excellent in her demeanor, making her very oddly charismatic as well, because to say her character is promiscuous is an understatement, as there's also something alluring about her. Erica is such a headstrong character in this movie, and she wants to accomplish whatever she wants to do by any means necessary, even if it includes doing some really sketchy things throughout the film. This is all a testament again to Deutsch's phenomenal performance. She is literally half of, if not most of, this movie. The supporting players in this film are strong as well, such as Kathryn Hahn as Erica's mother. She is just as bubbly and weird as Erica. We also have Tim Heidecker as Erica's future stepfather. I have to give him a worthy mention because I mainly know him for his comedic work, such as on Tim and Eric, Awesome Show, Great Job, and their $1 billion movie. So I was taken aback a bit to see him do a much more straight-laced and dramatic role, for which he was very good at here. Adam Scott plays that teacher who allegedly molested Erica's future stepbrother, and Erica also considers him to be a hot dad kind of figure kind of thing. I don't know. But for the screen time that Scott had, I thought he was fine. And then we have Joey Morgan as Erica's future stepbrother himself, Luke. He has a substantial role in the film where he does play a young man who gets out of rehab, interacts with Erica and her mother for the first time, and I thought he was superb in what he did with his subtle mannerisms at times, while also giving a verbose performance at times as well. I would like to see him do more work in the future. So while the supporting cast does have their moments to shine throughout the film, it all goes back to Zoe Deutsch and her phenomenal performance, which makes her such a star in the making. The writing in this film sets up something that is quite unique for a coming-of-age dramedy that is quite dark in some areas. This movie, again, is co-written and directed by Max Winkler, who, fun fact also, like Deutsch having famous parents, he is the son of Henry Winkler. Yes, Fonzie from Happy Days. So these two come from Hollywood royalty. But what Winkler does with his script, along with the other co-writers here, is create something that is very off-kilter and offbeat. I mean, the movie begins with Erica giving a Bajowski to a police officer, with her and her friends trying to bust him for taking part in some sketchy activity with an underage girl and getting money from him. Erica, as a character, she wants to save up a bunch of money to get her dad out of prison. Then when Erica's future stepbrother Luke gets out of rehab and comes into the picture, more elements make the film interesting as it progresses. Erica even tries to give Luke a Bajowski at one point, and it's all awkward because Luke is troubled himself as well. And that's when we get to see how Erica's crush on Adam Scott's character comes in to connect with Luke, saying that he apparently molested him when he was much younger, and then the vigilante plotline comes into play. This movie, in tone and style, reminded me quite a bit of Ingrid Goes West, which was one of my favorite movies of last year and is also a dark indie dramedy. In fact, Matt Spicer, who co-wrote and directed Ingrid Goes West, is one of the co-writers on Flowers, so it does make sense to have some of the shades of that movie be relayed onto this film, and it's something that is unconventional, like Ingrid Goes West, to follow a main character, a strong female protagonist who is morally ambiguous in her nature, but I cannot help to be compelled by what she's trying to do in the first place as well. During that Q&A session I was at, in regards to the vigilante approach of some of the characters in the film, Deutsch and Winkler even commented saying that Taxi Driver, among other movies, were inspirations for that, which was interesting to get some insight on that. I'm not just saying that because I was within their very presence, and I'm also trying not to sound too biased when talking about what I liked about this film, but yeah, I was quite absorbed into what these characters were trying to do, even if their motivations are not exactly the cleanest in the world, because the way this movie is in its approach, its setup, and some of its execution, it is a movie that certainly breaks all the rules, and it's not going to be for everyone for that. It is rogue, renegade storytelling to where we are identifying with anti-heroes of sorts. That also brought out some dark comedy that made me laugh throughout this movie's running time, and it's hysterical just for the sheer ridiculousness of the situation that these characters are put into, and Winkler's direction and how he handled it all made it flow really well. On a technical level, what was also said within the Q&A in regards to how this movie was made was that it was shot in about 15 days, which is a pretty short shooting schedule on a budget of about $500,000, and it does show on screen that it was not made for much, but that wasn't a problem at all, considering that it was well framed. The music that was used in the movie also added to the tone and atmosphere that these teenagers were living in. I also thought this movie was well edited in regards to cuts and scene transitions. The running time of this film is short. It's about 90 minutes long, but it was well paced all throughout its running time, in how I was just genuinely entertained while watching this movie. The main issues I would say I have with this movie go in regards to its ending, and without spoiling anything, the way it was all coming together within its final moments felt like it didn't make entire sense to me. It was rushed, I would say, and with this movie being unconventional, like I said before, it does fall into also what would make or break this movie for whoever watches it, as if the really out there nature of this movie hadn't already determined what they thought of the film anyway, as specifically within the final 5 minutes, either people are going to think it's way too far out of left field to really have any coherence, or that it is too taboo to make them take it seriously. What I would say is that I think the ending didn't fall on the bad side for me, as this movie was already pretty wild in what it was trying to tell and show. It all culminated into something that was a coming-of-age movie that certainly did not follow tradition at all. Even in comparison to something like Love, Simon, which I saw and reviewed last week, oh, it is definitely not like this movie at all. It's way more raunchy. Speaking of this movie's raunchy nature, after I was done interacting with Deutsch, she turned to my dad, who I saw this movie with, and said, "Thank you for coming. I hope that this was not too offensive," which we chuckled at, but we didn't know what she meant by. And then we realized, oh, Deutsch thought I was too young to have seen this movie, that I appeared under 17, and for those of you that don't know, I am 20 years old. I had shaved whatever patchy facial hair I had before seeing this movie, and apparently Deutsch thought that I looked younger than I actually was. I'm inclined to believe that I do look under 17 with the baby face that I do have, but that was a hilarious anecdote to take away from this experience for sure. Without a doubt, this movie's main draw is Zoe Deutsch's exceptional performance, along with the offbeat and off-kilter nature that, for those who are open to it, is also worth watching for, as with movies like these that don't follow convention, they show off a lot of the time some fresh and original ideas that may not fall well with some people, but they do make me appreciate independent films that try to tell stories that don't always go by traditional nature in what we see a lot of the time with mainstream movies. And with all of that being said, I think this is a solid effort from up-and-coming filmmakers that I anticipate will have strong futures ahead of them. I definitely recommend Flower. My final verdict for Flower is 4 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of Flower, social media links in the description, subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.